Hi, this is Lori.
This is Hamilton.
This is Peter.
Sorry.
This is Aaron.
This is Aaron. Our special guest Aaron is back. I'm happy to have you. And we are with Action Heroes LA. Notice the rebranding there. And it is happy 2020, y'all.
Yeah,
It is
happy New Year's,
Day,
y'all. Wow,
and
New
we
Year's Day.
are
It feels like a
going
new
to be-
year.
January 1st.
It feels like a different day or something. I don't know, man.
Different decade, actually.
Different decade. Thank you.
So, and we will be reviewing today the last movie we saw this year. It's not for you guys, but for us. Who wants to announce it?
It's going to be Star Wars,
The Rise of Skywalker.
I can't even say that
I
title.
know.
I'm sorry.
And finally doing this damn review because we've been waiting for a while to do it.
Oh, yeah.
And so anybody want to start?
I just want to start off by saying, personally, I don't want to trash this film because I think there's like 50,000 reviews on YouTube already, you know, thoroughly trashing this film. But I really do want to discuss some of the more like why this film falls short of the mark of this franchise, of what it could have been and what it probably should have been. You know, I mean, it's obviously a disappointment, but I definitely know, seeing it a second time, I picked up on a lot of what didn't work for me, and that's what I want to talk about specifically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How'd you feel about it, Aaron? I think you're from my understanding, you're a very huge Star Wars fan. Is that correct?
I'm a Star Wars fan, but I can definitely see the difference that the Disney agenda has put on it, and I'm not gonna like Hamilton. I'm not gonna crap on the movie either, but at the same time, I do understand everyone else's sentiment because there are some things in this movie that's quite obvious. It does not. It's a Star Wars film, but it just doesn't have that Star Wars feel of old that we grew up on.
Yeah, I've been going. Did you want to say something, or
No,
you want
go
me to go?
ahead.
Because I want to get this movie out of the way because I've been
yeah.
going back and forth.
Totally.
The problem is, and it's not a problem. It's just we're talking not about just this movie. We're talking about the end of a trilogy, which is an end of a 9-part series, technically. So it's hard to just like take this movie on its own and not try to incorporate what's come before it and the quality levels and what was great about this part of Star Wars that for some reason seems to not be working,
Right.
and a lot of other parts of it. So I enjoyed the movie on a certain level. It's an enjoyable movie to me, but there's a lot of problems with it, and there's a certain sense of something is missing. So
Okay, so I've seen this movie twice now.
yeah,
Thanks to Lori. Seen it twice.
we've seen it twice. I think you guys have seen it twice.
I think it's one of
Oh,
those films you kind of have to
Aaron's
see
only
more
seen
than
it once.
once because the first time it's a lot of stuff happening, and then the second time you can kind of like put all the pieces of the puzzle together more easily.
Now, Aaron, do you want to
Well-
see it again, or once was enough for
I
you?
mean, I could. It's not something I'm in a hurry to go on and see again. I could wait for it to come on DVD.
That's a good point.
And the thing about it, this is the thing I mentioned that, okay, well, the character like Palpatine, they didn't give us any backstory. They didn't give us no run up to him being there. It wasn't developed. He just appeared.
They kind of just dropped that as like, we're just going to do this.
Yeah.
We don't get I mean, like the opening scroll. They were like, we're not even going to pretend we're not going to do this, or like try to lead you into it.
Right.
Well, like I was told Lori, believe it or not, this was the first Star Wars movie that I actually read the opening script.
Yeah.
This was
that's
the
funny
first
you said
one that I
heard
did
you
that.
say that. Yeah.
Now, but here's the thing. The first time I saw the movie, I absolutely hated it. I thought they did not put anything together. They just threw something on the film, and I didn't get anything. And I saw the original Star Wars back in '77 in the theater and was just blown away. The second time I saw this movie, absolutely loved it.
Wow, really?
Absolutely
Wow.
loved this movie. And to me,
That's interesting.
it was Star Wars.
Wow.
That's
It
interesting.
was finally Star Wars. I finally got Star Wars.
Wow.
I do have a problem with Palpatine, but only that his part could have been edited a lot tighter
Right.
because I thought we already have the backstory.
Yeah, we have.
You know, we have the backstory.
We have various
so,
movies.
So
Yeah.
they were trying to kind of recreate his reason for being there, and I got that.
Mm-hmm.
I got that. I just think they could have made his appearances a little tighter.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have to linger on stairs and other things like that. I do like the type of lighting that they kept doing back and forth with his face.
Mm-hmm.
But I absolutely, I like this Star Wars.
Well, you know, I was going to say, seeing it a second time for me actually reinforced what I didn't like about it the first time. In particular, like, it stood out to me that for me, bringing Palpatine back was like, it was just like what they did with The Force Awakens. It was like, oh, now we got Star Killer Base, and you know, they had this. It's just another reiteration of the Death Star scenario.
Right.
It's like you got the same bad guy from the original trilogy. We haven't really
Only
progressed
less.
at all. You know, we're back to Palpatine, and Palpatine is a great villain, but it's
In
like
the
now we're,
original
you know, like now we're back to Palpatine again, and that's what I found frustrating.
Even in the dogfight, I mean, I noticed that they had Poe. Okay, it's like Poe had the young Luke pilot. I'm like, okay, they did that. It's like they did an iteration of when he turned off his computer. And it's like Obi-Wan was like, use the Force.
Oh, okay.
They had a moment like that with Poe.
Okay.
And he was
I
like,
think I missed that.
well, we're about to die or something. He didn't use the Force, but it was like an intensity moment
Right.
like that. I'm like, wait a minute. Is this Poe channeling his inner Luke or something?
Although I can see why people would like this film. It's not a. I liked it more seeing it the second time, but I still was like, nah, this film is very flawed for me.
Well,
You know?
I want to go with on this. There are a lot of things introduced in this movie that I would have been more okay with if they had been leading up to it in the beginning of this trilogy. I was like, okay, if you're going to go there, at least guide me through to that point. And like you said, it's just dropped into here. It tries to squeeze in a lot of plot that really doesn't really seem like significant stuff that happens. But they have all this stuff happening, and they have too much stuff happening. And a lot of it they could have gotten rid of and made a more streamlined movie.
They're trying to treat the audience like we're dumb.
And yeah, I don't know. It's very evident they were scrambling to kind of resolve this in this one movie.
Yeah.
They had the loss of Carrie Fisher, which I think, as well as they used her scenes left over, you can feel like how the storyline would have been so much richer if she was alive to kind of play those parts between some of the characters and stuff. So there's a lot of things that decisions made that just because they didn't have the time to. You want to go through?
Yeah, I'm sorry, y'all.
It's okay. This is not a professional production. That they would have. They would have served better if they could have. They couldn't. So it's like, well, let's just go for it anyway.
Yeah.
But I noticed you were nodding your head when she was talking, because you were saying, I think especially when she was saying that, or you even said it, that they didn't treat us, the audience, as though we were smart or knowledgeable.
It's like an insult to our intelligence, and I took issue with that. I'm like, okay, so what are we, like idiots here? Like, we don't see what's going on. I mean, they're acting as if that there was not an actual Star Wars franchise that started in the 70s, like you said. It's like, hello, are we not sitting here?
I think one of the things, like taking issue with that, because of what their defense is like, well, these were just kids' movies anyway. But what you have to understand is that those original trilogy appeals to you as a child. They appeal to you as an adult. There's certain layers to it. And one of the things I was thinking of is there's the J.J. Abrams versions of these J.J. Abrams movies. There isn't that level of solemnity, that kind of seriousness that it runs throughout Star Wars. Yeah, it's a fun kids movie and fun adventure thing, but there's a level there that he doesn't tap into. Now, I'm a Last Jedi defender. And I just watched that again last night, and I'll go down with that ship.
Right.
Because I do think that movie captures it. Maybe it captured it too much and focused too much on it for a lot of people, but for me, I think it registered Star Wars to me in that level that I really appreciate it.
Well, you know, Laurie, because we've been talking personally about it,
yeah.
but just for me, the thing of, I don't want to argue about Last Jedi, but the thing about it is it just changed the whole momentum.
I got that. Yeah, I understand. It really, it hurts.
It took the energy somewhere else.
Yeah, and they didn't want. They was like, well, we're trying to shift it back to where we wanted it instead of. But I would have been interested to see where it was like, well, let's take what he's doing and let's go in that direction. I would have much preferred.
Speaking of Last Jedi, you notice how J.J. Abrams, he kind of threw Ryan Johnson under the bus.
Yeah, he has. And I was reading someone's comment. It's like, and it's convenient to do that while you're trying to promote this new movie.
Oh, yeah.
It's so unpopular.
We're going to forget about that other movie that was
a lot of people, a lot of fans and stuff. They're like, oh, yeah, we'll get them on our side by doing that. And they have, some of the actors are kind of like, yeah, that wasn't a good experience and stuff. I was like, I'm sure you were saying something different when it was happening.
But now, you see, there was a couple things that I thought were brilliant in this film. And I actually thought that it was a standalone film. It could be. It doesn't have, it harkens back to the other Star Wars because they have things to say, okay, this is from this. I think there were certain things that were in the first, at least the first two Star Wars, definitely the first Star Wars, A New Hope. So when I say the first, I'm talking about number 4.
Yeah.
Because that's number 1 for me.
Mm.
But anyway, they always talked about, or they had at least the first two, definitely the first one, is that part of becoming a Jedi was not just the training and everything else, but was you built your own lightsaber. That was part of it. Now, in this movie, they didn't say that. I really wish they had even just said, you know, this is how this works, because that sort of end scene, it would have said to everyone, wow, yeah, I get it. I understand. Because I'm telling you, the first time I saw it, I was like, what the hell are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
The second time I saw it, I said,
well,
oh.
Well, see, I just assumed that because she built her. She has her own now. She's putting away the ones that were passed down.
Yeah,
but I just assumed.
But again, and that's what Palpatine. There was a little explanation in there on why he's there and what has transpired, which I really liked, because I had hated after the Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans that when they started rebooting, they wanted to start and show you how Peter Parker got his powers. And it's like, okay, enough. We know.
We already
so when
when
Civil Wars and Homecoming came along and they didn't rehash that, thank you. Yeah. We already know. I think they did enough with Palpatine to say then that's why I call it couldn't be a standalone movie, is that it tells you this. Doesn't tell you about the lightsabers, but I do still think that this was a really good movie. First time I saw it.
But Peter, man, I'm not, no offense for real, but I feel like they just pulled Palpatine out of the grave and put him in front of the camera. It's like his fingers were all eaten up.
No, definitely they did. Definitely they did. But they said, oh, but here's this. And the way he was in the picture, I was like, okay, but I wish they would have explained that.
No, it should. It's like I don't mind you making that decision if you gonna set it up.
Exactly.
I don't mind it.
Exactly. Well, that's what I wanted to get into. Though,
there's a lot of this and that there's a lot of problems like that in this movie.
That's what I wanted to get into because you said some things a while back. I got distracted with my phone. Like I've been trying to piggyback off of what you said. You said something like this film. If they try to do too much in one film, I heard people say online that it feels like two movies in one, and I tend to agree. It's a lot going on. But in particular, I want to say this because I have not heard anyone address this. What the heck did they do with the Knights of Ren? That's a huge disappointment to me, man. That should have been epic. You know, I mean, first of all, I feel like they should have introduced the Knights of Ren in the second film. And they really should have developed those characters more because that.
Well, when were they first introduced at all? Was it just this film? Because I've heard
briefly,
of them
I think, in
more
the first
outside
film.
of the.
We never actually saw them before. I don't think there was just mention of them in the first film.
And in the second film, there is mention of him taking a handful of students.
But when we finally see them, we just see these men in masks. Yeah. And when he kills them in the end. We don't even have any connection to them. That. You know what I'm saying?
No.
We don't have any, like I said, that was a huge disappointment.
But see, that's more something they would use
like
on a Disney Plus offshoot show to kind of show the development of that. I didn't feel the need for them to get too deep in it because they already had too many things going on and too many characters anyway. I think J.J. Abrams was more interested in giving cameo appearances to his TV actors, which drove me fucking crazy. Well, sorry for the language.
No, but y'all stop. My biggest problem with this film, by far. Oh, they should have introduced Lando Calrissian in the second film too. I felt like it was too little, too late. Like it was
and they didn't really have him do much.
Yeah,
it was just like him. He was just laughing through the whole thing. It's like people getting killed, dude. What the hell's so funny?
They may as well just have him say, try to give everyone Coke 45s or something. For winning the
exactly. For the amount of stuff he did in the film, I agree. But my biggest problem with this film, you guys know, is the character Rey, and this character has no arc development. No developmental arc anywhere.
I disagree.
In this trilogy,
I think she doesn't have the best arc development, but there is some. They finally, I think that The Last Jedi did more to benefit her, and then they did try to, do something more here, but it's kind of too little, too late. It's not enough.
I was telling Aaron on the way over here. I found this list of it's a long list of successful action films with female characters.
No,
it's
I've
like
seen
over the last 30 years. And it's like
this. I felt
Michelle like everything they did with Rey just made me not like her at all. I found her unrelatable. Nothing about her was real.
I think I lay this on J.J. Abrams by making her too many things. I think Rian Johnson did kind of limit her. Her powers weren't just all over the place as much as they're pulling force powers from everywhere and that's such a problem that
they even turned Han Solo into a force ghost. I'm like, he wasn't even force sensitive.
I thought it was interesting. He showed up. He had all kinds of.
I don't think I didn't consider him a force ghost. He was something in the mind of Kylo Ren at that moment. Okay. Well, we just revealed something that probably should.
No, this is a spoiler review, I think.
You want to do it? Go ahead.
We're talking about everything, yeah.
But no, I didn't look at him as a force ghost. It's just more of a kind of like a psychological, thing. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff I can see people would hate about this movie that I was more okay with. This movie had a lot of fan service, which I didn't like, but But if I was kind of like, well, if you were going to go this way, could you have established it a little earlier instead of it made more sense and been less clunky?
Right. Peter was saying about cameos, though. Basically, that was just another way for them to give the old cast something to do.
Oh, you got it.
They just want to give them a reason. Could you come on a Star Wars film, please? So they got Anthony Daniel. I think Peter Mayhew had already died.
He had passed. I don't know if he was still playing the character in he was alive during Force Awakens, right?
I think he was.
But I don't know if he was
I think
playing the
But they
character.
had Anthony Daniels, Harrison Ford, Carrie. Well, that was actually stock footage of Carrie Fisher. But I'm surprised that Ian McDormand. I thought Ian McDormand passed away. I mean, when they had him playing the Emperor again, I'm like, the voice sounds
younger
familiar.
than you.
No, he's still alive.
At a lot of times.
No, he's
I
definitely
don't think he's
still
not
alive.
that old.
Yeah, that was him.
He's pretty spry for an old guy. Older guy.
But I don't know if you guys noticed, there was even like they tried to put some of that Marvel MCU type humor, in this film,
Yeah.
and I thought that was it didn't work. Like the whole scene with the stormtroopers flying off the back of those,
They
those
fly now and stuff. And,
ATVs or whatever, and they fly now. Yep, they fly now. It's,
Yep. I noticed that too.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah,
It was
I didn't
just-
think about that, but yeah, it isn't.
Well,
it's, yeah.
I did notice, and forgive me if I don't know or even care about some of the new characters, but I know Finn and who's the new guy that pilots
Poe?
the Falcon? That's Poe, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, damn.
He's the X-wing pilot.
Yeah. But he and Finn started having moments just like Luke and Han did. With you like Laura? What do you mean? What are you saying?
Right.
There was a lot of that.
And so they were doing the same thing with them and Ray. Whoa,
Right,
wait,
right.
say what you're gonna say. And
That's
it's
true.
like
That's
it's
true.
like
I was one.
It's
okay,
I
stop.
wanted Finn to get with Jenna because she was really digging him. I was hoping they would get together.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking he's way too heavily invested in Ray now. Forget about Ray. Get Jenna.
Ray ain't even thinking about you.
Yeah, Ray trying to get some of that Kylo juice.
Which is I'm not even gonna. Oh,
I know this is a family-friendly show, but I'm just saying.
This is YouTube, man. You say what you want to say.
Yeah, but you know what? Still, it was well. Since you said that, I didn't like the end because when I can't remember his name, but when Billy D.
Oh, that weird scene.
turns to the young girl and say,
Yeah, that was a weird kind of pimp moment.
I was waiting for him to put on his brim.
We find out. We can find out.
We can find this out, girl. You know what I'm saying?
We were talking about that.
I thought about that too. The whole pansexual angle, and it was weird.
So like a sexual, racial kind of thing. Trying to put. Okay, I'm like, okay, they want to hit. We got your little diversity thing go. Because I even noticed, even on Star Killer Base, the First Order, they had their black troops now too. I'm like, whoopie joy. So
and they were kind of with that scene too, and even before then when they first landed, Weez escapes, massa. It was just like.
I used to be a stormtrooper too.
If there's kind of some slavery in there.
Who was your
But they didn't
master?
have a diverse group with that.
And then
I comes from the house of Vader.
So it was just kind of like, wait a minute, this old dude, I'm waiting for him to.
Bring out the Colt 45. Bring out the Colt 45.
Laurie, I wanted to touch on what you said earlier. I agree. If they had done more character development, if they had spent more time just like setting up stuff for it to be
it was
for me,
it was still fan
accepted a
servicey
lot
stuff,
more.
but like I said, it would have went over a lot better if they would have done this. I think one of the things, and I picked this up from another review podcast, actually their review of The Force Awakens years ago, and what they had to say about J.J. Abrams. And what they had to say is he's not really, his voice as a director is to be able to mimic other people's movies
I
like
agree.
to a T, incredibly.
Almost to a fault.
Yeah,
I don't think
it's
he can
kinda,
come in and do
but
it.
you can't.
He's a reboot director. If anything.
Yeah, Yeah, he can't. Yeah, he can't do a conclusion. I guess.
No.
No, but he can get the atmosphere, the kind of tone, the visuals, the some of the feel. But he can't give you the reason that person's voice. He can't deliver that, and he can't even deliver his own voice.
I agree.
You know, and
Yeah.
this movie is just it's very mediocre in a lot of ways. Other than that, like it looks a lot like Star Wars.
I mean,
But-
I totally agree. I mean, in fairness, this would be a hard film for any director
It
to
would
pull
be.
off.
And which is why I would have benefited from them. I was like, just extend the series. These new characters need more time to develop. So people, you know, you wanted the original characters to launch these new characters. Now give them time to breathe and grow and become something. And I think because the actors are good. They have great chemistry together. You know, they have great fun together. There was some things starting to develop that were kind of interesting, and they just, nope, we got to wrap it up. Disney says no more.
Yep.
They said, George Lucas says 9, and Disney says we're not spending another, umpteen $100 million on another movie. Because
We have an agenda to accomplish here. So.
I've said this before, but I just feel like for me this trilogy is like a 3-part symphony, and the middle part, it's almost like they
some kind of tragic opera.
like they totally changed up the tempo,
Like it's
and then they tried and they
doesn't-
tried to regain the momentum in the last movement or whatever, and they just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Actually a good name for another Star Wars film. Star Wars tragic opera.
Yeah, pretty much.
But now, wait a minute. I thought there's more. Isn't there more than 9 Star Wars movies?
There are technically, but within this saga,
Yeah.
George Lucas has said.
Yeah,
Well,
see,
Actually, no, I've seen. Like
Rogue
originally,
One thing,
the rumor was he had planned 9 of these movies. I remember hearing that like
yeah.
When
within
it
the
first
year
came out,
after the first movie
That's
came
right.
out. It was like, ooh, 9.
Wow, yeah, that sounds
I
like
think
a
my
number
14,
that
I think to
was
my 10-year-old
unattainable.
self, I like if I
Yeah.
could talk to her now, say, yeah, they're going to be 9 Star Wars, but.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you listen to the wording and stuff, that's the last of the Skywalker saga. There's going to be more
There's
Star
gonna be
Wars
more,
films.
yeah.
Right.
That's the last of the Skywalker saga.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
Considering how this ended, is it really?
when the New Hope came out, they
Yeah, I don't
really didn't
think
know
it
if it was
is.
even going to be a success.
They're going to probably make a
And,
movie
but
now.
he had planned all of these other.
He had
episodes.
enough story for 9. And
Yeah.
actually, I've even seen quotes about 12. He said there could have been as many as 12.
Right.
He had enough story for that, but he just originally planned to make one movie and say, okay, I got to take the best of what I have of this story and that'll fit within one movie and do that. And when it just took off like gangbusters and became this cultural phenomenon, that's when, oh, well, I got 9. I could actually have, what I have could fit into 9 or 12 or whatever.
I bet the next Star Wars film will be about the Hutts.
They have a lot of source material they can draw from. I saw people say it could be about Thrawn or what's his name from the villain from the Phantom Menace.
Darth
Darth Maul.
Darth
Yeah,
Maul.
which would be great. He's a great villain.
Actually, Darth Maul was actually the only redeeming thing in the Phantom Menace. I like Darth Maul. Jar Jar, I hated. Absolutely hated Jar Jar Binks.
They kind of brought Darth Maul back in the Solo movie, in the end of the Solo movie.
Oh,
so they said they could do a whole film just about the underworld of the Star Wars.
Well, yeah, I think you're seeing that with The Mandalorian. They're kind of picking some different aspects of the world they can dig into and explore. And yet they have a lot of series like Star Wars Rebels and whatever.
Yeah.
Clone Wars, they have
I don't
the
know.
animated series, which I haven't watched any of
still
those.
survives. Maul actually still lives. If they were actually able to bring him back together, his body back together through some technology that they have.
He never really. It's weird, but you can almost say that for any character in Star Wars, like Mace Windu's apparently still alive, and
What?
Boba Fett
Some people
survived,
need to
the
stay
Sarlacc,
dead,
and
Boba
Because
Fett.
another thing with this movie was bringing
Palpatine
people back
never
to
died,
life.
you know?
The whole,
Yeah,
like, it's
that's-
just some people need to stay dead.
Yeah,
Boba
exactly.
Because there's no
Yeah.
stakes.
Yeah,
Even if everybody can just be brought back.
yeah, exactly.
Well, there was one thing that I noticed about it's in Star Wars. It was heavy in all the Marvel movies, or many of the Marvel movies, as after Disney took over, and that was they started killing people off just like this.
Yeah.
The problem with that is that they might have read one comic book or two comic books.
I agree.
They had not read the series
Yeah.
to find out, oh, you need this one to have that one.
Yeah.
So you don't have to kill them off. They can disappear. They can be pushed aside.
Right.
A lot of things can happen. Death does not have to happen.
That's
Right.
Okay.
That was Kathleen Kennedy's order when she had the entire ship with Akbar and the rest of them. Yeah, that was that agenda.
Yeah, and I know it's probably harder to make a story where someone is put away or it is not there anymore. Even if they if they run or if they're wounded and they have to go someplace, just like in the X-Men where Magneto discovers that he's getting his power back during the end credit scene when he moved one of the chess pieces without touching it. I think you can anything like that could be a lot better, and I'm talking about, like, I did not like the third Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie because you brought too many bad guys, and we can't care about them
Right.
because we need
It's
to
like
care
three
about them
different bad
first
guys.
and then not like them later.
Right.
Well, when they came with Venom, they actually had already set up how he becomes Venom, how he even gets back to Earth. They had already set that up, and then they decided to go in a different direction, and then they killed him off. But I'm glad now there's been a reboot of Venom, and there's going to be a whole different thing like that. But if anybody remembers the third Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie, they
I remember
killed
the dancing.
Venom. Yeah, terrible.
Anyway.
They killed Venom, but Spider-Man needs Venom to fight Carnage. That's the only way that happens. So I'm very, very much like that. They're coming back with a different Venom, a new Venom, and they're going to have Carnage and everything else. But going back to Star Wars, since that's what this was about, is that they need not kill off people.
I don't know. I mean,
no.
No one ever dies in
If they
Star
do
Wars. That's
kill
how.
I think if you kill somebody, they need to stay
they're
dead.
That's
dead.
a problem.
That's it.
Yeah.
They're dead.
Yeah.
Just like with Marvel, I think they didn't understand the depth that that Black Widow had with moviegoers. But when they killed her off, I'm glad they're making a prequel with her. But now they're even thinking, oh man, maybe there's a way she can still be alive. And it's like, no, she died. That's how we got the stone. Done.
Thinking time travel.
It's interesting that you mentioned Marvel, because I was going to say, I don't know if you guys want to get close to wrapping it up.
Yeah, we can start wrapping this
But
up.
one thing I wanted to mention is I think it's really interesting to look at how Disney handled the Marvel properties, and they knocked it out of the park. They really showed a lot of regard. and
I
respect
still think it's
to
a
the
different,
fans.
it's like kind of an apple versus an orange, because the Marvel storyline was already set ahead of time. So they had that to go by. In Star Wars, whatever was set ahead of time, they got rid of and tried to make up something.
Yeah, totally.
And maybe that was, and even what was set up ahead of time wasn't fully formed like the Marvel universe was. But they did handle it. There's a scene, we're doing spoilers, there's a scene at the end of this movie, seeing it a second time, where Rey against Palpatine. You know, she's got the lightsaber. She's
Right.
like, I am the whatever of all the Sith.
Right.
And she, you know, she's going to her line. I wanted her to say, I am Iron Man. I thought it would have been great. It would have been better than what she said.
It would have been appropriate.
It would have been
for everything else in the film.
I mean,
yeah.
it's kind of interesting to kind of weigh that scene, how much better it was handled in Endgame. We're getting to your point. Versus here, how it's empty in this one, but in Endgame, it gives you an emotional hit.
I thought it was well played.
Yeah, it was.
Did.
So that's the same. I think there's difference, but at the same time, it's just like this movie is messy.
Yeah.
It's messy.
Yeah.
You can have fun, you can have enjoyment, you can have fulfillment on a almost like fan service, fanficky level.
Right.
If you're into that thing, and you can be fine. A lot of people will be fine with it, but it's a messy movie.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, go ahead,
And-
Aaron, I'm sorry.
Yeah, this movie, like I was saying before, I'm not gonna mess on it, but I do understand people's frustration with it.
Yeah.
I get it. I totally get it. It's like they did too much, and it's like stuff just pops up. I mean, it's like, okay, last time we saw Palpatine, he was being thrown into a shaft by Vader, and then I think his body even explode or something like that.
They don't really. It kind of goes into like some cloudy,
that
foggy stuff that you don't really see what happens.
and for me, I can say he's so powerful. That's what you would have seen. That's how it would have reacted. Doesn't mean he's dead.
Well, yeah,
Right.
it came out probably lightning, kind of force lightning, kind of shoots up after
Right.
whenever he hits.
Because I'm thinking to myself, oh, okay, that was it. But then the whole Death Star blew up. But then, of course, if he's part of the elements and part of the nothing around us, I guess he could surpass all that. So
I like I said, I felt like they just literally pulled him out of the grave and put him in front of the camera. That's what it
They
looked
could have
like
done,
to me.
they could have like just maybe done another well, I don't want to, because this is somebody else's opinion. Done another. They said done another pass at the script, and this is coming from somebody who was a script writer. And kind of interesting thing I thought about, because Carrie Fisher was notoriously good, known for her script doctoring. And now I kind of wonder how much she helped some of the other films that she's participated in. And if even not having her in this film, it's like she got the script, was like, no, you guys got to take another hack at this. You know what?
I think they definitely had intended to do more with her character. With
Oh,
the Princess
absolutely,
Leia character.
and that hurts. But there's other elements of this movie that they did have more control over that they just didn't do well. And like I said, this movie is going to be fine with a lot of people. It is entertaining. It's enjoyable on a level. It's on a deeper level that why Star Wars means a lot to all of us, a lot of us. It doesn't hit that point for me.
Right, I agree.
I think there's a lot of kids out there who's going to love it and love it for years and grow up with it, and it's going to be special to them. So.
what if they're going to do a movie where they dedicated to Hodo?
Now that would be a real
They do
laugh.
mention that in this. I noticed it on the second
Literally.
time. They kind of like dismissed it.
Hodo and Leia, they were really close. Apparently, didn't she promote Leia to general or something?
They had, she was kind of, Leia was her mentor, was Holdo's. Because, like I said, I just watched this last night. And, like, we were talking about Akbar taking that position in a way, and this is like, you mentioned, like, there's a lot of talk about agenda-driven. There was a lot of things that we want to see more people of color and more females in positions within the Star Wars universe. And, and a lot of times it's very done. If you can't do it well, don't do it at all. If you can't make it feel natural. And the Holdo one is it's this really weird kind of thing. When I watch the movie again, it doesn't work in a way it does.
It's a big,
like the whole concept, the whole idea of it doesn't work, but the execution of some like what the storyline was to kind of give Poe an interesting arc in that movie does work.
It's a big controversy.
But as a character, and because of what they completely take Leia out to put her in that position, it's like, well, why couldn't they have Leia do that?
Or Admiral Akbar.
I don't know. Well, Admiral Akbar would have been, maybe so. I mean, I kind of don't see him doing those type of dramatic. Seeing the fish head doing the type of dramatic tension.
Well,
I don't know what it works,
his
but
character
I think
was a substantial part of Star Wars.
I know. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I don't know if he could have
Somebody died.
done the dramatic weight pull the dramatic weight they wanted to do with that, and the way Laura Dern was able to pull off. But at the same time, it doesn't make her character kind of sticks out like a sore thumb at the same time.
And then in this film, they were talking about they didn't give Rose Tico enough to do. And it's a funny thing, interesting, how in The Last Jedi, we thought Finn and Rose were going to have like a thing going because she was obviously digging him. But now in this latest one, it was Jenna that was. I'm like, why don't they just give Finn a love interest? That's not Rey.
Well, you know, I wanted to mention. I don't know if you were being sarcastic earlier about the Holdo thing, but I think there's a lot of trolling going on because I've seen rumors of a Rose Tico TV show.
Oh,
so,
well, that's one of the characters and one of the
no.
storylines I didn't like a lot.
Right.
That's kind of like one of my hated part of The Last Jedi.
Right.
As much as like I couldn't stand that, and even like the whole little romance, and it was like, what? It came out of nowhere. It just was really done. But at the same, but coming into this movie, I was like, well, you already set that up. Why not just go ahead and follow through and have them go on an adventure? I do like the new character though that they did bring in. But it would have been, that's another one that like, wow, it would have been nice if you would have been brought in earlier and they could have established something more.
They're trying to make everyone happy with it. This whole diversity thing.
It is.
Let's have an let's have a black guy and an Asian, and we'll put them together. And,
but it's like I said, they did it horribly, so it just totally didn't work.
Well, just to kind of wrap things up, I'm going to say what I took away from this film is it really emphasizes the importance of strong character development.
Yeah.
You really, if you're going to plan a trilogy, you really need to.
You need to plan it out ahead of time.
Yeah, you can't do it on the fly and expect to have success.
Have everybody on the same page. If you're going to do it in the style of J.J. Abrams, make sure all the directors are going to follow along with that blueprint. If you can do it in the style of Rian Johnson, make sure everybody involved is going to follow along with that. That's sorely lacking. You could have gone either way with it.
And the last thing for me, it just makes me really appreciate the George Lucas original trilogy more. You know, what he did.
Yeah. I don't want to lay it on just him, though.
No, I'm not laying anything on him.
What he and the people collaborate, because I think...
but Star Wars wasn't a fluke because he had a plan. He had ideas about where he wanted to go with the story from the beginning.
And he also had a great group of people around him who knew when to reel him in.
Exactly.
I think George was like, when he gave the reins to Disney, I think he was like, okay, I'm going to give you all my pride and joy here. Just treat it right. And Disney did some other stuff.
They Disneyed it.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think George is like, this is not what I wanted to happen. Y'all promised me. You all did not do what I asked you to do. And I wouldn't blame George for feeling that way.
Sure, yeah.
I totally agree.
Like I said, I guess I'm the only one of us.
You really...
it's cool to like this film. I'm not mad at people who like this movie. You know, there are people who are going to like this movie.
When we're like picking it apart, I think
I don't
really
hate the film. I wouldn't say I dislike it, but it left me in a state of confusion.
Well, see, the only thing that I would really say that I would want to see more of this film is that the Palpatine scenes and the battle scene, the battle scene, should have been edited tighter. They both, even though Palpatine scenes were cut up, and the battle scene was somewhat cut up, they could have edited a lot out, and then in that same amount of time, put in more explanation throughout the movie. So they could. I think they could have.
That could have. There's a lot
better.
of stuff they spent like running around here and there to get this little item and that little gadget that they could have used. Yeah,
because to me, the whole knife thing, it didn't make any sense. It didn't make any sense. Not 1 ounce of sense.
I agree.
But they said somebody on that team had wrote or been a part of National Treasure, and that's what they did.
They had to get.
We gotta do because it worked well in National Treasure, and it's like
those caves come out of nowhere. Huh?
Yeah,
they had to get to a planet where Kerry Russell could come out. Felicity could come out.
But putting that it's like What is this National Treasure
That's
now?
why she was.
Right.
Yeah, I
It's
could
like-
I kept seeing her name. I was like, that's right, she's in this. Who is
Right.
she?
The
And I
one with
realized
the
she's the one with the
mask.
mask
So
on.
is Zori.
Yeah.
Zori. As a matter of fact, funny, Peter just hit a
Sorry
good
about
point.
Yeah.
With the
There's a
knife,
lot.
they even had the most juvenile name for it, the Wayfinder. I'm like,
That was the other thing. The
Yeah.
I'm like,
Wayfinder.
wow.
And then the
You
knife
couldn't
was
come up
like
with another name.
Yeah.
it's in the shape of some parts of the destroyed Death Star that it's been there for 40 years. What waves hidden in it that wouldn't have decayed and changed shape over time? I don't know.
Right.
So anyway,
Yeah.
it's kind of like there's a lot of ridiculousness like that.
Yeah.
It's like,
There's endless plot holes in this movie.
And
like,
there's problems like that in the Force Awakens too, where they're just like,
mhm.
these meaningless kind of. We just have to have them something to do. Wanting this look cool.
Force Awakens was at least tolerable.
Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year. So there's stuff like that. It's just not as egregious because they're not trying to stuff so much into to wrap the things up, and it's a better paced movie.
Yeah.
So it's a lot more acceptable now.
But can you go to this
I'm-
film and like this movie? Of course. I've seen so many people
Yeah,
say
I think you can.
what they call the
I think a lot of
normies
people-
or whatever. People who just want to have a good time. You can enjoy this movie, and I mean that's okay. And I don't think it's the end of Star Wars. I think The Mandalorian, for example, is proof that Disney fans will still respond well if Disney puts out things they can relate to and identify with. So it'll be interesting to see what happens at this point. But I'm glad this trilogy is over. I found it exhausting that, I've been following for the last, at least half a year, just people talking about how this was going to be a disaster. And I'm just glad it's over for me personally.
Well, January 1st, 2020. We're wrapping it up. We got last word.
Hey, if you haven't gone and seen the movie yet, see with an analytical eye. Don't take our word for it.
Yeah, go see it and tell us what you think. So that's what I'm saying. So we out January 2020. Let's make it a good year. Hopefully it's a good movie year.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
See you later.
Jazz hands.